The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas and you guys got to enjoy time with your loved ones, get a little R&R in, maybe binge watch some of the shows I've suggested. Seriously, Shrinking is so good. That show is so good. I've recommended it to a bunch of people and every single one of them loves it. That thing makes me cry. I actually will admit that. I will admit that on the air. The episodes are just, they're highly, I don't know. They just strike a nerve in a good way. I mean, definitely in a good way. I also watched Hijack on Apple TV over the past couple nights. That's really good too. That's been out for a while, but it's with that guy, Idris Elba. I think that's his name. Really good looking black dude. Kind of looks, I think he was in The Wire. Oh, he was in The Wire. Anyway, that's really good as well. Hijack. And it made me think, obviously, I'm not going to ruin it by telling you it's about a plane getting hijacked. But I had this conversation with my niece and nephew, actually. And I was telling them about the show. And I said, it makes me think, what would I do in a plane hijack situation? Would I be one of the people that would do something, or probably the majority of the people, which again, this is not good or bad, that, probably would not maybe have the fight or flight response of fight. And, in all honesty, I think I would fight. I really do. I don't know. I kind of internalized that question with myself to think, okay, what would I do? And, I'll be honest, I don't really love flying to begin with because I don't like not being in control. I don't like someone else necessarily being in control. It's kind of why I don't really like driving with people anymore. I genuinely don't. I don't really like being a passenger in a car. I like to be the driver. Wow, that's kind of probably not the best thing, but I really do. I don't like to be a passenger in the car. This is terrible. But in regards to a hijack situation, no, I don't think I would just sit there. I think I would absolutely plan on, being part of the group that does something or try to do something. And this is a little, I don't even know why I'm talking about this today, but what the heck, who knows? I'll share this because God forbid any of us ends up being in this situation. But that hijack show, and again, that's on Apple TV Plus as well. The thing about that was interesting was it really did make me honestly internalize as I was watching it, okay, what would I do in this situation? And oh my God, you guys are going to think I'm a psycho for even talking about this, but I'm going to say it. I honestly think if I were to attack somebody in a hijack situation, I think the best thing to do is just try to twist their neck and break their neck. I'm not even kidding. That is so gruesome to think about doing that. But when you are in a fight or flight situation of that nature, it is kind of you or them. And that would be my advice. All right. Holy mackerel. Talk about going off on a goofy, weird, psychotic tangent. There you have it. All right, listen, let's talk about a few things that are going on. And I want to start off by talking about, Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky. I've talked about how I like that dude. I think him and Thomas Massie are really two of the, honestly, I hate to say it, they're the only two guys I really like practically all of their stances in Congress, whether they're both Republican, but Republican or Democrat, they're really the only two that I really like. And so Rand Paul, for the past several years, comes out with this report that he calls the Festivus Report. And it's a take on the concept of Festivus from Seinfeld.
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
So that was Mr. Costanza in Seinfeld, and you probably remember Festivus. It's like the airing of grievances, and then I remember another part of it was feats of strength, which was hilarious. Man, Seinfeld was a funny show. Anyway, so Rand Paul basically uses that as a play to talk about all the misspending of your money, and he calls it his Festivus Report, and he's done it for the past several years. So listen to some clips of this. Let's start off with my girl Candace Owens. Actually, you know what? Let's start off with a little more background.
Senator Rand Paul is out with his annual Festivus Report on outrageous government waste. This year, the report lists $1 trillion of taxpayer money spent on some truly bizarre pet projects, like $10,000 that was given to the Bearded Ladies Cabaret to fund ice skating shows about climate change. $32,000 was spent on breakdancing. Nearly $500,000 was spent to determine if lonely rats seek out cocaine more than happy rats. Another $2 million was paid for Paraguayan border security, because who needs a secure U.S. border anyway? $12 million to fund a pickleball complex in Las Vegas, $20 million to air a Sesame Street spinoff about inclusion and mutual respect, not here in the U.S., but in Iraq, and $10 billion on maintaining, leasing, and furnishing almost entirely empty buildings. Ghost towns on your dime.
By the way, she said $10 billion with a B dollars on leasing and furnishing and maintaining empty government buildings.
And all of this wasteful spending brings to mind this Trump tweet from 2014. He wrote, quote, "I hope we never find life on another planet, because if we do, there's no doubt that the United States will start sending them money."
All right, that is funny. That's a great Trump quote from 2014. I mean, again, it just shows you, man. I know some of you hate him, but the dude has been on point about a lot of things. Unfortunately, well, we've talked about that a billion times. Anyway, so this report, I mean, this is a legitimate report. I downloaded the PDF. So let me read you a little bit. And again, this is from Rand Paul. All right, and I quote, "This year I'm highlighting a whopping $1 trillion. That's over $1 trillion in government waste, including things like ice skating, drag queens, a $12 million Las Vegas pickleball complex that was paid for by the government, $4.9 million on Ukrainian influencers, and more. No matter how much money the government has wasted, politicians keep demanding even more. As always, taking the path to fiscal responsibility is often a lonely journey, but I've been fighting with government waste like Doge before Doge was cool, and I will continue my fight against government waste this holiday season." So basically, obviously, let's see what Elon and Vivek can do with this. But what's interesting to me is Rand Paul's been pointing out this waste, fraud, and abuse of the government for a decade now. He's been doing this report for 10 years. And to be honest with you, this is the first year I personally have ever heard about it. So how crazy is it that a report this damning and provocative really has not hit the mainstream radar for a decade? Because I haven't heard about it. Have you guys heard about it? Anyway, he ended it with, "So before we get to the feats of strength," oh, that's funny, "it's time for my airing of spending grievances." All right, he definitely is a Seinfeld fan. So, all right, now let's shift over. This is Candace Owens talking about it.
Senator Rand Paul, who happens to be a legend, does this annual Festivus where he releases to the public a report on government waste. Okay, he just wants you to know what your government is actually spending money on. Okay. Are you ready to hate them forever? Because if you're listening to this after a long day of work, knowing that basically 45% of whatever it is that you earned is going to go to the government, let me tell you, you are about to be big mad, because my jaw just hits the floor every time I learn this, the more that I learn about what we're spending on. Okay, I'm going to start slow. This is according to his report.
By the way, this Candace Owens clip, she's talking about the 2023 report. So I did want to caveat it with that. So this is the 2023 report, but who cares? I mean, 2023, 2024, it doesn't matter. Our money's being wasted.
According to the Office of Management Budget, the federal government spends more than $1.7 billion a year to maintain 77,000 empty buildings. Okay? $1.7 billion a year of our hard-earned taxpayer money is because they're like, we just don't want to get rid of these buildings, these 77,000 buildings. I guess they want to make sure that they have a real estate empire. We also, and you guys probably know this one, U.S. officials testified that $38 million in COVID payments went to people that the United States government absolutely knew were dead.
I remember hearing about that, about the COVID payments that they knew were going to dead people, but they sent them anyway? Like, why? Why do you do that?
$38 million went to dead people. How does that exactly work? What does that actually mean? Why does this always feel and sound like it is simply money laundering? It's going to get worse. I promise you, it's going to get so much worse. Then there's just tourism, where they just send money and millions. For example, the United States Agency for International Development approved sending $6 million to boost tourism in Egypt. Most people can't even afford a flight out of the country, but they want to make sure that in the event that you can afford a flight out of the country, that you consider maybe going to Egypt. So they send to Egypt money. And in total, we have spent $100 million on Egyptian tourism. Why does this feel like money laundering? Also, the NIH gave $2.3 million to inject beagle puppies with cocaine. Yeah, sweet little beagle puppies. They were like, hey, we are going to need $2.3 million to inject them with cocaine. And now I'm just thinking, how much of that money went towards the cocaine? Why is the government so easily able to get cocaine? And what's going on here? What is the end goal here? Where, guess what? That wasn't even enough money, because even after getting all that money, they said that they didn't have the correct equipment to drug the puppies. So it sent the puppies over to a different laboratory, the same laboratory that had just received $13.5 million to inject monkeys with Ebola and tuberculosis and other deadly viruses. Okay, great.
By the way, I did fact check all this, and then in the 2023 report and the 2024 report, there's complete footnotes and an index that cites the exact references, and on those that she talked about, I went to those, and this is all 100% verified.
Now, just in case you're thinking this can't possibly get much worse, this is so insulting, why am I working? Why are they taking my money at all? Just listen to Rand Paul explain more of the things that our government has spent money on, okay? Things that you have to go to work to support the agenda of. Like, they need to fund these very important programs. Take a listen.
All right, I'm actually going to now bring in not the 2023 clip from Rand Paul, but this is the 2024 clip that literally just came out 3 days ago.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul joins us now. Senator, this is an annual list you do. You've got a lot of problems with government people, to quote Seinfeld further. How tough is it to target and find the entries on this list?
You know, I got a lot of problems with big spenders in both parties. And here's the thing, everywhere you look, you find more of this stuff. $1 trillion. That means we found a lot of waste. But it's everywhere. It's in all the big departments, in the Department of State. It's in NIH. It's in the National Science Foundation. And people wonder, why does it exist every year? We have this Department of Doge. Are they going to be able to get rid of it? Well, the only way to get rid of it is to spend less money. So if you give the National Science Foundation $4 billion 1 year, and then you increase it to $8 billion, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that you're going to get more waste, not less. This has been going on since the 70s, but it has exploded. But you have to be willing to cut spending for the overall department. NIH will have more waste if you give them more money. They spent $3 million studying what kids do when they look at ads for food on Facebook. So they had a whole bunch of kids look at ads for food on Facebook, and that was $3 million worth. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars to drill holes into cats' head, spin them around rapidly, and study motion sickness. Sounds more like animal cruelty than it actually sounds like an experiment, but the list goes on and on.
You know, I'm going to add this to the things I'm going to keep an eye on for 2025. Because again, this whole Doge task force with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy is tasked to basically flesh all this stuff out and put an end to it. I mean, this is absurd. This is absurd. Think about $1 trillion and then add on top of it the almost $260 billion that went to Ukraine and Israel this year. Just think about if that money was put back into the infrastructure of the United States, put back into the people of the United States, the education process of the United States, getting people up and running on, artificial intelligence and AI, getting people internet access. I mean, that's insane. Curing the homeless problem. There's so much that is absolutely wasteful. Oh my God, it's wasteful. All right, let's listen to the rest of Rand Paul.
And that's not to mention, you have stolen COVID relief funds, $8 million. One guy from Florida did it to buy an island. You mentioned the cat. The list does go on and on. But you also alluded to this, Senator. Do you think your tradition ends this year? In other words, is this the year that Doge eliminates the need for you to go through and make this list because they've done it over the course of the intervening 365 days?
Ultimately, it takes Congress. Congress has to get rid of the spending. Doge can point out the spending problems and the waste the same way I've been pointing it out. But the reason it's not eliminated is they don't have the votes to get rid of the spending. So I am very hopeful that Doge will draw attention to this the same way I've been drawing attention to it. But I'll give you an example. About a year ago, there was a chip spill, a bill to subsidize microchips, semiconductors in the United States. Well, in that bill, they doubled the size of the National Science Foundation. Now, the National Science Foundation is the one that's famous for doing a study on whether tequila or gin makes people more aggressive. So they fed fish, half of them tequila, and the other half of the fish gin, and they decided which made the fish more aggressive. That's the National Science Foundation. Most of the terrible, wasteful projects, the crazy stuff and experiments that's going on is National Science Foundation. In the CHIPS bill, all the Democrats and half the Republicans voted to double the size of the National Science Foundation. So why is there more waste? Because the idiots in Congress keep giving them more money.
Well, it will be interesting to see again what happens when Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Very different from what we've experienced the last 96 hours in Congress. Will this waste go away? Will you be needed on Christmas Eve next year? We will see. Senator Rand Paul, enjoy the day and the week with you.
All right. That is nuts, man. That is seriously nuts. I wonder which did affect the fish more, gin or tequila? Let me see if I can find the answer. Oh my God, it says the verdict was inconclusive. I'm going to have to guess tequila, though. I don't really drink gin. I do like tequila on the rocks. I will say tequila makes me feel... I sip it slow these days. I get these big ice cubes. Well, first of all, I don't drink very much, but when I do drink, I might have a little tequila, and I get these giant ice cubes. If you haven't seen these big ice cube trays, they're really fun, actually. They're about the size of I don't know, it's like a square. There's a square version, and then there's also a round version. The round version will be maybe a little bit bigger than a golf ball. So maybe like an ice cube the size of a pool ball, maybe a little smaller than a pool ball, a little bigger than a golf ball. And then there's a square version as well. But man, you get a nice big ice cube, put that in a nice glass, and then pour a little tequila on it and just sip it nicely while you watch Shrinking and cry. That's a good night right there. All right. Anyway, so that is the Rand Paul Festivus Report of wasteful government spending. I can't even believe this is a thing, But after how much money we've wasted spending overseas and all we've talked about the never-ending wars and the forever wars and all the waste, I guess I can believe it. So anyway, all right, that's that. Let me see if there's anything else to talk about today. All right, here's a good one. Elon Musk on Tucker Carlson talking about the moon landing.
And
so we got to the moon the first time.
We definitely went to the moon. Yes, we went to the moon. We didn't go to the moon. We went to the moon several times.
Right. Oh, yeah. I just want to check your view on that.
We 100% went to the moon. I know in depth the technical designs of the rockets, the spacecraft, everything.
Yes.
What went right, what went wrong. It was a remarkable piece of technology, like incredible piece of technology to go to the moon in '69.
Yeah.
That was like reaching into the future and pulling the future forward dramatically. And it was an important ideological battle with communism. They couldn't put a person on the moon, and capitalism could.
All right, you know what? In 2025, I am going to dive deep on the moon landing. And in the spirit of not keeping you in suspense, I do not agree with Elon Musk. I don't think we went to the moon. I think that was completely faked. And when they talk about who faked it, Stanley Kubrick is the guy that comes up all the time. Anyway, there's a absolute ton on this. I will put it all together. I've always kind of wanted to do an episode. I thought you guys would think I'm too crazy though. But I'm telling you, I don't think we went to the moon. I really don't. It doesn't make any sense that the greatest technological accomplishment is the only technological accomplishment that has never improved. How does that make any sense? We've never improved on the technology that got us there in the 60s when everything else has improved like by just a factor of a gajillion. Look at phone, computer, internet, AI, everything, your refrigerator, your microwave, home building, every aspect of life and technology. When you compare 2024 to 1969, and it's just never happened again. And by the way, the other things about that again, I'll dig into in another episode, but supposedly all the technology for that moon landing was lost. And then a lot of people talk about the Van Allen radiation belts, which is like a supercharged particles surrounding the Earth held in place by like a magnetic field that basically you can't penetrate through, but supposedly Apollo 13 got through that. Anyway, all right, that's on the table. I'm going to bring it. All right, I did want to have a little more discussion about the lady that was set on fire in the New York subway. I mean, this whole thing is just so disturbing on so many different levels, but give this a listen. This is just like a random dude on TikTok that I thought kind of articulated, quite frankly, everything that's wrong with that situation pretty well.
And I don't think we're processing this properly. A woman was on fire, literally on fire, in a subway, and more than one first responder, I think they were both police officers, casually walked past her. There were bystanders watching, doing nothing.
I mean, the fact that there was a police officer and another first responder that did nothing and they just casually walked by, and then even the general public, to sit there and record it on your phone, this kind of touches on that fight or flight thing with hijacking of an airline. And I don't know, man, I can't see myself doing nothing. I really can't, even if it's like grabbing the person, throwing them on the ground, trying to stop, drop, and roll. By the way, how does everyone not know that? Remember that was like a whole thing. It was like, I think it was called stop, drop, and roll. Anytime you caught on fire, that's kind of what you were supposed to do. But regardless, again, this talks to like, what would you do as a human being in that situation? Now, I will say a lot of people, I had a couple discussions about it, and some people brought up the Daniel Penny, that guy that put the Jordan Neely in the chokehold, and then the crazy Jordan Neely homeless kind of psychotic guy died, and then he went on trial, and then he just was acquitted. But a few people brought that up and said, well, because of things like that, people are a little gun shy to help each other. But I don't know, man. I don't know if that's it. I feel like humanity in some ways has just lost its sense of humanity, and people are not, they're just, I don't know. It's just not, I don't like it. All right, let's listen to the rest of this.
Just recording with their phones. Again, the police officer walked right past her, and the man who set her on fire was fanning the flames or flaming the fire, however you want to say it. And I saw a tweet, and this woman explained it perfectly. I've seen terribly graphic stuff. The gore is not the problem. The problem is how casual it seemed and how it was like, oh, just, another day. The woman's burning alive in front of your face on a subway in New York. And these people are just, well, hey, it is what it is. Just recording, cops just chilling, walking around casually. Imagine if that was someone you knew or cared about. Imagine it was your mother, your grandma, your sister. And she's standing there with her head on fire, and the cop walks right past her casually.
I don't like it, man. I do not like it. I do not like the lack of, oh God, I don't know, humanity, empathy, whatever, balls, whatever you want to call it. I just don't like it. I don't like it. All right, let's see. Oh, you know what? I've been meaning to play this AI clip. It's kind of like a explainer about various aspects of artificial intelligence. And it kind of gives you a little brief history leading into, obviously, generative AI, which has been really what's taken off in 2024, a little bit of 2023. And remember, ChatGPT launched in November 2022, so it's only been 2 years. But give this a listen. I think this is pretty informative.
Everywhere you look these days, artificial intelligence has taken over conversations from CEOs to even your next-door neighbor. The term artificial intelligence is broad in its meaning, but basically refers to the intelligence displayed and created by machines. But it wouldn't be until the 2010s that we truly saw a rise in AI. In the 2010s, IBM debuted Watson, a computer capable of answering questions in a natural language, and it later went on to compete on the iconic TV game show Jeopardy! Then came the release of Apple's Siri, which relied on machine learning as a type of AI to answer questions.
So really quick, that's pretty funny. Watson, I remember that from IBM. And then obviously Siri, these have been around for a while. And again, those are absolutely, AI. It's this generative AI where really it's about generating something using artificial intelligence.
But where does generative AI fit in all of this, and how does it stand apart? Scientists have been exploring this technology in the background for years, but it wasn't until the launch of OpenAI's ChatGPT, a form of generative AI, in November 2022 that caught everyone's attention. And within 2 months, over 100 million people were using it every week. Skipping over a lot of technical details, generative AI boils down to the art of prediction. Whether it's the next word in a sentence, the next note in a melody, or the next pixel in an image, all of this lies at the heart of generative AI technology: predictions.
That's actually a really great and important point. So really, when you talk about these large language models and generative AI, it's really about taking in data points and then having so much information to be able to basically predict what you want as the answer or predict what is next. And so just remember that it's really based on prediction.
In the case of ChatGPT, the chatbot developed by OpenAI, the system is trained on millions of gigabytes of information provided by a large language model. This information is typically obtained through most of the public internet. When you ask the chatbot a question, it begins to formulate a response, and within an instant, it returns an answer. It achieves this by diving into its large language model and asking, based on what we've seen across billions of internet pages, what words and phrases make the most sense to put next.
Okay, so the other point I just want to make is, remember, when you're using ChatGPT, the data sources that it's pulling from to give you the results is the same internet that we've all been using and continue to use. But again, because of the programming aspect of the algorithms and these large language models, it really creates a better prediction than what you and I could basically cobble together through our own searches. You know what I mean? So like if you ask ChatGPT anything, honestly, I could come up, or you could come up with exactly what ChatGPT delivers to you, but obviously it's going to take a tremendous longer amount of time to be able to string everything out because we can't predict as fast as an algorithm can predict. Okay, that's in terms of that. Now he's going to jump into the images and videos and other things. This is interesting.
However, generative AI systems that were created to produce images, audio, and video work in a different way. They mostly use something called general adversarial networks, which sounds complicated, but imagine two players in a game known as neural networks trying to outsmart each other. Let's say we ask the system for a picture of a dog. The first player, called the discriminator, knows what real dogs look like because it's seen thousands of images of dogs. The second player, the generator, tries to create new dog images that are so good, they fool the discriminator into thinking they're real. This process continues until the discriminator can't tell the difference between a real and an AI-generated dog. Depending on how well the discriminator is trained, the final image might look incredibly real, or it could end up a bit weird, like a dog with 5 legs and 3 nostrils.
Wow, you know what? I really didn't even know that. And that actually makes sense of why you do end up with situations where the dog, has, let's say, 4 nostrils or a weird situation.
Generative AI has been shown to accelerate the discovery of new drugs by analyzing huge chemical databases, diagnosing eye degeneration 100 times faster than previously thought possible, and even predicting repair needs for industrial equipment, all paving the way to enhance productivity and creativity. Think of how cars change transportation for our world, or even electricity.
I really feel like the potential benefits in terms of medically related stuff are the ability for it is insane. I really do think that. But the problem is, again, I've said it a million times and I'm going to say it again, AI could help us get healthy, but good health doesn't make dollars. So where's the rubber going to meet the road on that? I mean, seriously, I'm being actually serious for a second. The benefits of all the different AI technologies could absolutely, if harnessed properly, it should absolutely improve healthcare across the board in every aspect, diagnosing things, coming up with solutions for things, all of that. But again, that is directly, I guess, going to affect the bottom line when it comes to the medical industry. And so are they gonna push for that, All right, shifting gears to now the downside of AI potentially.
According to Pew Research, experts are voicing concern over AI being used to spread misinformation rather than AI machines governing the world. But one thing we are certain of is this: as generative AI continues to evolve, so will our understanding of it.
That is very true. That is very true, my friend. It is definitely going to continue to evolve. Again, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Do not get left behind in this. Start slow. Start with the basics. ChatGPT, Gemini from Google, Claude from Anthropic, and then Perplexity. Those are the big 4 I'd absolutely recommend you start to play around with. They all have great apps for your various Android or iPhone phones, and just start to play around with them. I'm telling you, they're actually super fun. All right, we're going to talk more AI coming up and obviously into next year. That's about it. Call a spade, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to leave you with about 30 seconds of another banger on TikTok that has gone viral. I think this song is called Apartment, APT. It's by Rose or Rose and Bruno Mars. Man, I need to learn the artist better when I play them. Give them proper shout outs. But anyway, give this a listen. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Can feel, don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't you need me like I need you now? See tomorrow, but tonight go crazy.
was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.